Former DPRK prisoner and U.S. student Otto Warmbier has died as a result of an infection that he received while being imprisoned in the DPRK at 22. The parents made a statement saying, "It's our sad duty to report that our son, Otto Warmbier, has completed his journey home surrounded by his loving family. Otto died today at 2:20 p.m. The awful, torturous mistreatment of our son received at the hands of the North Koreans ensured that no other outcome was possible beyond the sad one we experienced today." And U.S. President Donald Trump did comment saying that this deepened his administration's resolve to prevent such tragedies from befalling innocent people at the hands of regimes that do not respect the rule of law or basic human decency. Now, what the media is forgetting to mention is the fact that once he got home and was under the care of physicians at the University of Cincinnati, their MRIs, their own medical work, showed that he suffered no abuse at the hands of the North Korean government. There was no signs of trauma, no signs of abuse. And now they believe a respiratory arrest led to his condition, which is caused by a lack of oxygen in the blood to the brain. And this is why the DPRK released the young man on humanitarian grounds. Now, all this outrage that is being thrown at the DPRK, I believe, is totally misplaced. They're condemning this as a human rights issue. They believe that he was murdered by the DPRK, when such an accusation doesn't make any sense. The DPRK would have nothing to gain by murdering him. I want to remind people that the DPRK is a third world country. They're poor, and the prisons in every third world country are poor. And it is common for people to die of infections inside those countries. Yet it is only a great outrage when it happens to some well-off American. Due to the political nature of his crime, it's being made out as this massive human rights abuse. It's being made out as a possible murder, a completely baseless accusation. The accusation of torture was completely baseless. And that's why we're really seeing this, because he was well off and he was American. And this is a way to demonize the DPRK. Now, I imagine prison is probably pretty terrible in the country, given that it is a third world country. But these cries of human rights and how concerned they are over them are completely bogus. U.S. prisons are the worst in the developed world. And in fact, there have been more than one case where people with mental illness were killed by staff at the prisons out of their own anger or absolute neglect. And this is a common thing to happen in U.S. prisons. This happens all the time. It is not unusual for people to be just outright murdered by guards at prisons. Not to mention that the United States has the worst prison system in the developed world. The U.S. rate of incarceration is higher than any other country in the world. This is an if they really cared about human rights. If this was really about human rights, they'd be doing something about this in the U.S. right in their own homes, where they could very easily do something about it. So they're crocodile tears coming from the U.S. government and the U.S. public in general. They're completely phony. They don't give any iota of care about human rights at all. This is just a way to demonize the DPRK. It is a tragedy that this young man died, and I feel for his family, and his family are really the only ones who have the right to feel sad here, or his friends, or people who knew them. But this outrage coming from the U.S. government is phony. This outrage coming from the U.S. public is absolutely phony. These are the same people that would cheer on the bombing of the countries that suffer as a result of U.S. imperialism. And all of a sudden, because some, upper class kid in the U.S. gets allegedly mistreated, all of a sudden that's now going too far. So you know what? That's tremendous hypocrisy, because they're okay with bombing countries. And just recently in Syria, a U.S. bombing that killed 300 people, 300 innocent people. Otto Warmbier was not an innocent person. He went to jail for a crime, and you can complain about the sentence being too harsh, but it's not like he didn't know that there would be really harsh punishments for Americans who commit crimes in the DPRK. He knew that. He knew the country. Not only that, he knew that his actions were wrong, yet he chose to take the risk anyway. There is a great deal of responsibility to be dumped on the young man himself. Not necessarily his death, but he set up the situation by doing this. And that's what people don't want to accept. So before you scream off and get angry at the DPRK for all the supposed human rights violations or crimes against humanity that they carried out against this young man, look at your own country first. And look at the way you treat prisoners, which are even worse than what Otto suffered in the DPRK. Look at the way you treat prisoners. And then think about that the next time you want to spread crocodile tears for this young man who lost his life. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.